Hey, what's going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the 11-game NBA main slate on Thursday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. I'm now making videos for NBA Top Shot as well. If you're unable to watch these YouTube videos, they're also up on Apple Podcasts. We'll link down below. It's called the DKDFS Show. If you're interested in signing up for premium content, I offer that on patreon.com, esports, which includes Call of Duty and CSGO, as well as an NBA package. And then I want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring this show. If you're unfamiliar with Prize Picks, basically the idea is you're taking over under on fantasy points. And the nice thing is they do have second half contests. A lot of the stuff right now they're up are just the second half contests. So you can take over unders there. You can mix and match sports. If you guys want to sign up, you can use the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You get a 100% match up to $100. And finally, I just want to thank you guys for the continued support on these DFS videos, the Top Shot videos, the live streams. It is greatly, greatly appreciated, guys. If you do enjoy this content, leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't live. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Let's aim for 200 likes on this video. And as always, I will be live before lock tomorrow to go over everything and answer all your guys' questions. But with that out of the way, let's jump into it. So before we talk about players and the prices for this 11-game slate, let's look back mine up here from Wednesday's slate. Wednesday right now, looking really good. Currently in first place in this tournament, winning $2,500. We will see if it holds, but let's go over my lineup here. I can get out of the way so you guys can see. But yeah, mentioned I was going with the Washington-Memphis game stack. Oops, hold on. I mentioned I was going with the Washington-Memphis game stack. So used Westbrook with Beal, Winslow, Denny Avdija, Jonas Valanciunas, John Morant, Robin Lopez. My one-off being Rudy Gay at 2% owned. 2% and 21 fantasy points. Got a little bit lucky with Keldon Johnson foul trouble, but yeah, the reason I got to Rudy Gay was with no LaMarcus Aldridge, it was Pirtle and it was Rudy Gay that I thought got the boost. If you played Trey Lyles, you got popped because I was like, there's no guarantee he's going to play. And sure enough, Popovich went to Eubanks. So Rudy Gay is the key piece for me here at 2% owned. So yeah, right now, again, currently winning $2,500 in this $100 single entry tournament, winning about $500 in the big tournament. Maybe we'll get closer to takedown. We'll see. So it could be a really, really big night, guys. Hope you guys had a good night as well. Let's see if we can keep it rolling for this 11-game slate. So, let's see. We have three of the 11 games out right now. Boston and Brooklyn at 234.5 over under. The Nets are 3-point favorites. Timberwolves, Pelicans 239 over under. The Pelicans are 8-point favorites. And Knicks, Bucks at 222.5 over under. The Bucks are 11-point favorites. All right, so we'll start off with Detroit and Charlotte. And the Detroit side, Jeremy Grant back. He's at 7.7K. I think makes for a decent tournament play, and he's been a little bit up and down. Price seems about right. Mason Plumlee, if he can stay out of foul trouble, should play about 30 minutes, but we know he's been in foul trouble a lot recently, so that's always the risk with Mason Plumlee. But I think if I knew he's going to stay out of foul trouble and play 30 minutes, I think he'd be, I would say he's a pretty safe play with some upside. DeLon Wright, we'll have to keep an eye on that. He's currently questionable. If he's out, does make Dennis Smith Jr. a viable tournament play, who has actually been getting consistent minutes recently of like 25 to 27, but up and down nature would say he's more of a tournament GPP play. Sadiq Bey, no thank you. Josh Jackson seems priced about right. Nothing else really stands out. Svi was a value when there's a lot of guys out. I don't really love him there at 3.9K. Isaiah Stewart will play the backup 5. He'll probably play about 20 minutes. I actually think he's like an okay punt play. And if Mason Plumlee does get in foul trouble, then he'll play a little bit more. So yeah, I could see punting with Isaiah Stewart. But that's it for Detroit. Let's move on to Charlotte. So Charlotte, Devontae Graham is back, but they said LaMelo Ball is going to remain in the starting lineup. It's really LaMelo Ball for me, and that's it. LaMelo at 9K. Don't love the price, but I think he's a good tournament play. I think his price will scare some people off. I still think he plays 35-ish minutes around there. Again, a guy that's triple-double upside, so I do like LaMelo at the top. Rozier, absolutely not. Devontae Graham, we'll see how they do the starting lineup. I don't have a ton of interest there. PJ Washington's too pricey. Think of Gordon Hayward. Cody Zeller now back too. Really just not a ton else I like on the Charlotte side. Basically LaMelo in tournaments, and that's it. Boston, Brooklyn. So this is one of the better matchups of the Boston Celtics. The issue is they're now pretty much fully healthy. Marcus Smart back. I have no interest in Marcus Smart. They said they're going to kind of ease him back in. Kemba Walker at 7.4. It's been actually, besides the last game, 40 plus fantasy points the last 3. It's a great matchup. I think he's a decent play. Really, I have interest in the top 3 guys. Does one really stand out though? No. But I think maybe getting to one of those Boston guys and the slate is not a bad idea just because Brooklyn plays very little defense. Like Tatum, Brown, Kemba, I like at the top. No real strong preference on who I prefer. Again, Smart, no thank you. The bigs, Robert Williams at 4.8. He actually has been playing more minutes recently. 22, 22, 23 in 3 of the last 4 games. We know he's a really good point per minute guy. So like I could see taking a shot on Robert Williams for tournaments. Daniel Tice at 4.7. Did only play 7 minutes the last game. Did he get injured that game, or what happened? Or did they just roll with Robert Williams? Because we've seen Brad Stevens kind of go with a hot hand. I forget what happened that game. And then Tristan Thompson probably plays about 20 minutes. But if you're shooting for the upside, I would say it is Robert Williams. It's just a matter of will the Mets be there. Now moving on to Brooklyn, still no Kevin Durant. So Harden, Kyrie at the top. Revenge game narrative here for Kyrie if you're into that at 9.6K. I think he's a good tournament play at this price. Just seems like a fair, like, I don't know if I go to him. I don't love him in cash games. So again, revenge game narrative, still no Kevin Durant. He should play 35-ish minutes. Harden, if you can get to him, is safer just because he's a guy that's triple-double upside. Last 2 games, 30, 14, and 15, 29, 10, and 14. The 2 previous, I played them. Both are blowouts. Still a little bit tilted about that. But Harden is playing huge minutes. Like, he's playing over 40 minutes in close games, which really just makes him a safe spend up at the top. Value-wise, like Bruce Brown, DeAndre Jordan, don't really love it. Jeff Green might be back too. Not a ton else to love here. Like Nick Claxton, you can take a shot on a GPPs. He has been playing the backup 5, but like I think there's still an outside chance he gets a DNP. So he's one of those kind of high risk, high reward value plays. But that's it for Brooklyn. Moving on to Atlanta. So still no DeAndre Hunter, still no Cam Reddish. I think Trae Young at the top at 9.9K. Decent tournament play. Don't love him for cash games. Capella at 7.9, Collins at 7K. Just kind of seem both priced about right. If I had to pick one, I think it would be Capella because should be able to have his way there against like Boucher or Aaron Baines. Herder 5.6. Gallinari went for. Let's talk about that most recent game. 23 points, 9 boards, 6 assists. Like, what on earth is that stat line for Danilo Gallinari? Normally, he's a guy that is more reliant on the scoring. Minutes up and down, production up and down. Sure, you can take a shot at him for tournaments. I don't love it. The value guy that actually is intriguing is Bogdan Bogdanovic at 3.5K, slowly easing their way back in with the minutes 16, then 20. If he plays like 25 minutes here at this price, I think he's a guy that you can look to as a salary relief play. Moving on to Toronto. So Toronto's a team you're going to want to have some interest in because no Van Fleet, no Siakam, no OG, possibly no Terrence Davis. So Kyle Lowry, I think, is one of the best plays at the top at 8.6K. Should play 35 to 40 minutes. Great matchup, will be the clear number 1 on offense. So love Lowry. I think Norman Powell is definitely a good play as well. He should be the number 2 in the offense. He should play 35 plus minutes. The one concern with him is he won't do a ton of the peripheral. So if he is struggling shooting, we can see a somewhat low floor from him. But I think he's in play for tournaments. Chris Boucher, Aaron Baines, they played a lot next to each other the last game. Boucher played 35 minutes. Aaron Baines played 29. So I think both those guys are viable just because they don't have a lot of bodies. So like Boucher, we know is a really good point per minute guy. I think he's a good play if he's going to continue to play over 30 minutes. Terrence Davis, have to keep an eye on. Last game he played 32 minutes. If he starts again, I think he's a value play you can look to. And now, again, the minutes have been fluctuating for him, but the good thing with Terrence Davis is he's a very aggressive player on offense. And then again, Baines for value at 4.2K. If he starts, I think we'd probably get at least 20 minutes and would be a viable punt play. So I'm just curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. If there's no Terrence Davis, then we consider like fringe value guys like Stanley Johnson, DeAndre Bembry, revenge game. These guys have been playing somewhere around 20, 25-ish minutes. Stanley played 36 at last game. It's kind of been hard to trust the minutes for the secondary pieces for Toronto, so we have to keep an eye on the starting lineup, but definitely a team I have interest in. Moving on to Orlando, Miami. Vooch at the top at 10.4K, I think is a good contrarian play. Don't love the price here, but there's no Bam in a buyout, so like he should be able to have his way against Olynyk and like Precious Achiuwa. So good tournament play. Ross, no thank you. Aaron Gordon might be back too. We'll have to keep an eye on that. MCW is too pricey. Not a ton else I like here for the Orlando Magic. So let's move on to Miami. Miami, again, no Bam in a buyout, so I think Kelly Olynyk, if he starts at the 5, is a really, really good play because when Kelly Olynyk plays the 5, he just gets a huge boost. Almost had a triple-double, and he'll just have to do a lot more on offense. As long as he can stay out of foul trouble, he should play all the minutes he can handle. So if he starts at the 5, I think Kelly Olynyk is one of the better plays in the mid-range. Now, if they start Precious Achiuwa, then I love Precious Achiuwa. So we'll just keep on the starting lineup. Either way, I think Precious probably, if he doesn't start, should play about 15-ish minutes on the bench, would be like an okay punt play. But if he starts, then he's probably the best value play in the slate. Jimmy is just, getting it done every single game, basically. 9.5K feels like a lot, but it's a good matchup as long as Orlando doesn't get blown out. I think Jimmy Butler's a solid play at that price. Dragic, Hero, none kind of secondary plays with Jimmy back. Again, really the where I have a lot of interest in is with the bigs, Olynyk, Precious, depending on the starting lineup, and then Jimmy at the top. Moving on to New York, Milwaukee. So New York Knicks, Julius Randle at this price, I think is more of a contrarian play. But with no Taj Gibson, him and Noel have been playing massive minutes. So 57, 51, 60 fantasy points through the last 4 games for Julius Randle. I think, again, good contrarian play. Nerlens Noel, if there's no Taj Gibson, should play about 40 minutes. Not a super high usage guy, but like I think is certainly like a safe play just because the minutes. Now there's no Derrick Rose, so Alfred Payton recently has been getting consistent minutes when he's been healthy. 32, 34, and that game he was out for a couple weeks. And his first game back played 35 minutes. So like, I think he's a viable tournament play. You can never really feel comfortable with his minutes because we've seen games where they've pulled the plug in him and he's only played like 15 to 20 minutes. Quickly, no thank you at that price, and that's really it for New York. Moving on to Milwaukee. Honestly, not the best matchup, but like Giannis Antetokounmpo is just matchup proof. It just doesn't matter. As long as his game stays close, he'll play 35-plus minutes. A guy that does it all. Very safe play at the top. Drew, Middleton, no thank you. We'll mention is a Bobby Portis revenge game, but the Mets have been trending down. You can use him for tournaments, but again, the Mets always fluctuate. Moving on to Minnesota and New Orleans. So on the Minnesota side, Karl-Anthony Towns at 10K, I think is a pretty fair play. Should play. He hasn't been playing. He has not been playing huge minutes in close games, like 31, 32, 33, 32. I guess that last game was a blowout, but I think he's someone that does have 50-plus fantasy point upside, goes a little bit overlooked. So, yeah, I have some interest there in Cat. Anthony Edwards with no Beasley and D'Angelo Russell should be the number 2 in offense, should play big minutes. A little bit dependent on scoring, but he's going to get a ton of shots up, 20, 22, 22, 23 shot attempts. New Orleans has been playing a lot faster recently, too. So, not a cash game play, but I think viable tournament play. Now, there's no Jordan McLaughlin, so does Ricky Rubio play more? Or do they extend the bench more? You just never really know with Minnesota. So, like, I don't love the price either. Vanderbilt's at 4.5K. The minutes just always fluctuate with him. It's hard to trust. And then you just have, like, a lot of bench guys that can use, like, Noel, McDaniels, Layman, Okogie. I mean, my guess is Noel probably plays the backup point guard. He's played 26, 21, and 23 minutes. So, like, yeah, he's in play for value, but he's never really trusted. It feels like Minnesota just has, like, 30 guys on the bench they can use. Moving on to New Orleans, Zion Williamson. I mean, he just continues to get it done. And this is a fantastic matchup. Should play big minutes. I do like Zion. Again, even at this price, I think he looks good. Ingram, more of a secondary play. Lonzo, kind of the same thing. Eric Bledsoe at 5'6". Besides that most recent game against Milwaukee, 35, 34, 37, and 42 minutes, I should say, which, if he's going to continue to play mid-30s minutes, I think is a viable play in the mid-range. Steven Adams at 5'1". I think they're going to need him against Karl-Anthony Towns, so my guess is he probably pushes for close to the 30-minute mark. Can Guillermo Hernan-Gomez king with Cat? I'm not sure. So, like, yeah, I could see getting to Steven Adams. Hernan-Gomez, again, if you want to get a little bit contrarian, he's actually the better point per minute guy, but I think they're going to have to use Steven Adams a little bit more there against Cat. All right, moving on, we got 5 games left, Philly and Chicago. So Philly's a team you're definitely going to want some interest in. No Embiid, no Ben Simmons. Absolutely love Tobias Harris even at this price. He's going to be the number 1 on offense, a fantastic matchup. I really, really like Tobias Harris. Now, we'll see what they do with the starting lineup. Sometimes they've started Dwight. Sometimes they've started Tony Bradley. Sometimes they've even started Mike Scott at the small level 5. So we'll see. If Dwight Howard starts, my guess is we get mid-20s minutes. Now, we've seen some games where he started and literally got benched, if you remember that. We've also seen some games where he started and played 35 minutes. So, like, I think a fair guess is somewhere in between. But there's upside for more. There's also downside for less. So it's like, we'll see. But if Dwight Howard starts, I think we probably get around mid-20s minutes. It would be a decent play at that price. Shake Milton at 5.3K. I think he's a guy that is going to have to do a lot more offensively, a guy that can do some of the peripheral stats. Again, I really like the matchup, so I do like Shake. I'm fine with Seth Curry too. I honestly probably prefer Shake Milton, but both these guards are firmly in play. Danny Green, you guys know my thoughts on Danny Green. I mean, the minutes will be there most likely, but I just don't like Danny Green. We're very anti Danny Green on this show. But then other value plays. So guys like Mike Scott, Korkmaz, Tony Bradley, maybe he starts. Or I'm guessing he plays the backup 5. So, like, all these guys are viable. Like, Mike Scott, not a super high usage guy. If he starts, I'd say probably get about 20 minutes viable. Korkmaz more reliant in the scoring, but we know he can get hot. So, like, really, there's a lot of Philadelphia guys. You can even consider Maxey. Like, I think he probably plays 15, 20 minutes. So there's a lot of Philadelphia guys that are viable for sure. But obviously, it's Tobias at the top. Probably whoever starts the center, whether it be Dwight, Scott, or Tony Bradley. And then one of the guards with Milton, Seth Curry is really where my main interest lies. Moving on to Chicago. Don't love the price in Levine, but I think he's a decent tournament play. Kobe White's been playing more consistent minutes, like averaging about 35 a game. I think at this price point, makes for a decent play if you're going to use a lot of Philly guys you want to bring back. I'm fine running it back with Kobe. Other than that, there was really not a ton else I like for Chicago. Moving on to Dallas and OKC. Luka Doncic is 10.8K. Good matchup here. As long as the Thunder can keep it close, should play 35-plus minutes. I think Luka's a really safe play at the top. Porzingis more contrarian. Brunson seems priced about right. J-Rich, DFS, no one else really stands out here. I will mention Willie Cauley-Stein played the backup 5 tonight. So, like, if he's going to continue to play the backup 5, I think we probably get about 15 minutes. You could use him as a punt play, but just, like, those minutes are never guaranteed. They could always go to Bubba, and they can always go to Dwight Powell, so that's always a risk. Move on to OKC. Not a ton of love here. I think SGA is a decent tournament play, but not doesn't really stand out at 9K. Al Horford at 6'2", should play about 30 minutes. Again, doesn't really stand out here. Mid-range guys, Baisley, Dort, Maladon, the minutes will be there, but low usage. It's just kind of just all secondary plays. I will mention Ty Jerome. He's been getting some decent run off the bench. I think we get around 20-ish minutes. He did have a bust game the last game, but previous games 20+. So, like, I could see using him as a punt play. Golden State and the Clippers. So, on the Golden State side, Steph Curry, I think, will go overlooked because of the matchup. But we know he's got 60, 70+ fantasy point upside. So, I like Steph in tournaments. Draymond Green, we'll have to keep an eye on this. If he plays, I think is a safer play. Again, don't love the matchup, but he's a guy that should play 35+ minutes. Oubre also questionable. We'll see. If they're both out, then we'll just have to see what they do with the starting lineup. You know, I'm guessing probably Juan Toscano-Anderson starts for Draymond if he's out, so he'd be a good value play. You know, when Oubre missed that 2 games ago, it was Bazemore that started. They also started Damian Lee. So possibly some value here depending on news for Golden State. Never. This is why I never play Andrew Wiggins. 26 fantasy points in 31 minutes with no Steph, no Draymond, no Kelly Oubre. All right, let's move on to the Clippers. So, Kawhi Leonard. Yes, I'm very much still tilting about that last game. Got lucky and got Paul George ruled out basically at lock. Low on Kawhi, gets in foul trouble, and still bust in literally one of the best possible matchups. Like, how was that possible? Now, that is going to lower the ownership. The price is below 9K. Matchup's decent. So, like, I'm fine with Kawhi as a contrarian play. Paul George at 8.5K also seems a little bit too cheap. So, like, both the Clippers guys look, the top guys look pretty decent. Value-wise, not a ton of love here with them being pretty healthy. Moving on to Houston and Sacramento. So this is a game that I think definitely has some upside. John Wall, Victor Oladipo at 8-2 and 8-2 respectively. I think both look good at the top because of the matchup, especially if Eric Gordon is out too. John Wall, 40 and 41 minutes last couple games. They are, somewhat thin. No Nwaba, no Danuel House, no Christian Wood. So I do like Wall and Oladipo at the top. We'll have to see about Eric Gordon. If Eric Gordon is out, then it's a slight boost to those secondary plays. I will mention Patton because Sacramento is a really big team. They got Holmes, Bagley. I'm assuming Patton starts. If he does start, I think we'll get around 25 to 30 minutes, which actually makes him a decent value play at that price. Let's see. Other options. I will mention Kevin Porter Jr. back from the G League. He played well in the G League too. Now, we don't know what his role is going to be because this is his first game. My guess is he's in the rotation, but that's not for certain. So, I think he's a pretty good value play for tournaments. I don't know if a lot of people are going to get to him, but as long as he's in the rotation and plays 15 to 20 minutes, I could see him getting there for value. All right, moving on to Sacramento. So Sacramento side, honestly, with Halliburton back, that does take a hit. Now, they said they're going to kind of limit him, so that does hurt the secondary plays a lot. I think De'Aaron Fox is still viable at 9.1K. I went for 64 that last game, but again, with Halliburton back, that does hurt his upside a little bit. I think it's still viable for tournaments. Barnes, Bagley, Holmes, all these guys are fine, but minutes should go down a bit with Halliburton back, which makes them a little riskier. Holmes, I think probably gets around 25 to 30 minutes. He would probably be my favorite secondary option. Bagley's been playing decent better offensively. Like they're still in play, those secondary guys for Sacramento, but they're just a little riskier now with Halliburton back. And finally, Portland and Phoenix. On the Phoenix side, Booker is most likely to play. So if he does play, I think Paul at 7.8K is a decent play. Should play, 30 to 35 minutes. Has a pretty high floor because of assists. DeAndre Ayton, it is a good match against Cantor, but we know he's been up and down. So like Ayton for tournaments. Paul, I think is fine. Booker, I don't love the price on him. There's no Cam Johnson, but honestly, that doesn't do a ton. They'll probably just give some more minutes to guys like Abdul Nader, Cam Payne. I don't really want to mess with the value for Phoenix. Finally, Portland, Damian Lillard at almost 11K. I would say it's more of a contrarian play at that price point, not out of play, but again, more in play for tournaments. Cantor at 7.6 is a bigger team, so I'm guessing he plays mid-30s minutes. I think is also a good tournament play. Mid-range guys like Rocco, Trent, Melo, Jones Jr. all seem priced about right. If I had to pick one, I actually think it would be Rocco because the minutes, 40, 38, 38, and 37 minutes the last 4 games. A guy that can get it done with the peripherals. But yeah, that's really it for me for Portland. I think that's going to do it for the video as well. So if you guys have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos when I'm live. Thanks again, guys. Have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow in the live stream.